First of all, welcome to the podcast. How has your entry into session been? You know, you have not only a special session that you're coming in after winning this special election, but then, you know, talking about one thing on the campaign trail, and then by the time you get here, boom.
Right. No, it's been great. It's been different. It's kind of like drinking water through a fire hose, but that's okay. That's kind of how my campaign was. I had a very short time period within which to campaign, and then made the runoff, and then a very short time period on that, and then after won the election, immediately got down here the next day, tried to hire a chief of staff, and got that done, and tried to organize, prioritize, do those type of things. And so I got sworn in on March the 9th, almost 3 weeks ago, not quite. And then the bill filing deadline was only 3 days later. So that was my next challenge, trying to get bills filed. I feel good about that. We got even in that 3-day time period, got 8 bills filed, and by that time period was able to sign off on 10 others to co-author. So I felt pretty good about that. And since then I've signed off to I think over 40 bills. And co-authored those, and so and some joint authors. So I'm pleased with where we are. You know, it's just when you come in on a deal like that, you just feel like you're behind, and so I spent all my time trying to get caught up. And really, with the committee process, I really wasn't behind because my committees hadn't even met yet. So I was good on that, and it's just mainly I still feel a little bit behind as far as the relationship issue, as far as meeting people, knowing people, getting to know them, because even though everybody else wasn't down here that much, they've got a little bit of a head start on me on that. But no, it's been great.
Well, let's help them catch up. You know, for those who don't know who David Spiller is, where do you come from, and what part of the district are you from? It's a big district, so
it's huge. Yeah. No, I was born and raised in Jacksboro. Came back to Jacksboro after getting out of college, out of law school. I practiced law there with my sons right now. My 2 sons are both attorneys, and I practiced law for 34 years. I practiced prior to that with my dad and with my younger brother. I also own a title company, Spiller Title. I believe it's the oldest family-owned title company in the state of Texas, started by my great-granddad in 1888. So we've kind of got 2 businesses in one going on there. But as far as my private practice, I have a very general practice, do a lot of litigation, but do a lot of other things too. During that time period, I've been city attorney for the city of Jacksboro for 33 years. I've been general counsel for the Jack County Hospital District since its inception back in 1990, so that's 30 years. And I also do a lot of mediations. I've mediated over 1,000 cases for other attorneys and so forth. And also locally, I serve on the school board. I served 26 years until I resigned the other day after getting elected. I served 26 years on the local school board. So I kind of have a pretty varied background as far as coming into this process.
Well, it's certainly a background in a lot of issues that are important to Texas as we continue to grow. And I imagine that the folks in the education world are always proud to have a former school board member down here whenever it comes to anything education related.
Well, rural schools, rural hospitals are very near and dear to my heart, and I want to, certainly that's important to the folks in my district. This district, as you talked about, is huge. It takes up 22 counties. It's 300 miles across, 200 miles north and south, and I'm kind of I wouldn't say the middle of it, but I'm kind of in the middle of where more population is to where it kind of drops off as far as the population is concerned. So I'm kind of centrally located, but and I've been to many of these counties and knew a lot of folks, but I've met a lot of folks during the process, and it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, when you represent almost 10% of the state, that's a pretty big lift for one guy. I guess. Going through the campaign, what were the issues that folks were talking to you a lot about, especially knowing that you were going to have to hit the ground running, and how have you been able to maintain focus on that as well as, taking on these other priorities that have jumped up with ERCOT and PUC?
Well, the things that are very important to the folks in my district about they want to fight for lower taxes, protect the right to life, defend the Second Amendment, protect religious liberties and freedoms, protect rural hospitals and rural schools. That's very important in our rural areas, and also very important rural broadband, which certainly is a priority, and things with property rights and water rights. So a lot of the things that are a priority down here are also a priority in my district, and I'm pleased to have been able to sign on and either author, co-author, joint author many of those issues, and so I'm excited about where we're headed. I'm ready to vote on some stuff. Let's get things rolling.
Right. Well, broadband got voted out of state affairs last week, so I imagine it'll be headed to a floor calendar pretty soon. You got your first floor calendar last week.
I did.
How was that experience for you? You know, you didn't have to wait as long as some of your other freshman colleagues.
No.
You know.
No, I liked it, and I've had to study the rules and learn the rules and some of those things. So that's been neat. So, no, everything was great. I'm ready to do more of it, and also had the opportunity to, in addition to my other committees, be appointed to the policy committee, which also helps as far as a more detailed understanding of the bills that we'll be considering. So and have input on that and understanding on that. And so, no, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I mean, over 4,500 bills filed in the House alone, and you know, fortunately, not every one of those comes down to the policy committee. You know, you get to focus on the stuff that's really going to get a vote on the floor. So, I imagine that helps narrow your focus. Speaking of your committees, what are those committees you're assigned to?
Okay, they were assigned to the district before I was elected. So I have county affairs and land and resource management, and so I couldn't be more pleased with that. I have quite a bit of experience with both, with county affairs, dealing with city government and local government, and dealing with county government over my years. Those things are things that I'm very familiar with, the type of things that we're considering and looking at, and also with land and resource management, we do a lot with eminent domain issues, and as a private attorney, I've handled over 200 eminent domain cases, so I'm very fluent in eminent domain. I understand the things that would be important to landowners, and yet the condemning authorities, there's a process that needs to be fair for them as well, and so we're going to take up those bills tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a long day between the session and between committee land and resource management. We may be here a while, but that's hopefully not as long as state affairs and Homeland Security and some of those committees have been. But we may be here a while dealing with some of those. But I certainly want to get something done with regard to that and eminent domain, and that's the focus this week as far as tomorrow.
Yeah, forgive me for laughing. I just know that eminent domain is such a important issue for Vice Chair Ben Lamont. Has he talked to you about his stance on eminent domain?
We've talked about several issues. I've talked to a lot of folks, and I've talked to a lot of, honestly, a lot of stakeholders. There's some bills that are pending that I'm very familiar with, have studied those. I understand the differences between them, and I'm just, I want to work to get a resolution. We need a resolution. We didn't get one before. Previously, and so I certainly want to get that done, and I want to be a part of that, and I think the folks in my district would really appreciate that, and I know the people in the state of Texas would as well.
Yeah, and so much of that conversation last session was built more around the oil and gas folks, whereas Representative Lamont has a more niche focus with the high-speed rail stuff going on. But he'll come on later and tell us all about that. Let's get to your legislative lift. You know, you had mentioned you came in 3 days to the bill filing deadline. You were able to get some stuff filed. So what's this legislation you've got on the books?
Well, I've been able to joint author some, and I appreciate the opportunity for that, and as well as co-authoring some. I'm involved in some, let's see, I guess it's House Bill 2662, talking about reduction of taxes for businesses and so forth during COVID. I think that's very important. I've got a House Bill 3128, which is a CTE fix for schools when House Bill 3 was passed the last time, which was great, but there were a few things that needed to be done, and there was a financing issue as it relates to small and mid-sized schools for CTEs, and so this would be a fix for that, and that would be very good, again, for rural schools. Let's see, I've got House Bill 1603, expanding the graduation alternatives. That law was in place, but rather than it ending on a certain date, that seems to work well for some schools and some alternatives, and so it extends that deadline. HJR 32, which is a constitutional amendment to prohibit unfunded mandates on counties and cities. Again, very important because they're often subject to those type things. And then House Bill 3961, which is a bill that I authored solely, but it's gotten a lot of support for an ombudsman for nursing homes. There's a process that many people know about, but many people don't, and especially during a pandemic and folks have issues with nursing homes and trying to see loved ones, and it requires nursing homes at no additional cost to anyone, but to put that information not just in the lobby of their facility, which no one can get into, but it requires them to put it on their website and contact information for that. So hopefully that'll be a help to many people.
Yeah, accountability in our nursing homes is a big issue that, you know, a lot of folks have been talking about, and with everything else kind of going on, you know, it's still an important issue, but it's good to see that you've got some strong legislation back in that to make sure people have that information. You know, right. I feel like that's kind of been the more driving point of the conversation in response to COVID, in response to what happened with the winter storm. Communication has kind of broken down in several facets. I guess for you, having 22 counties, how are you communicating with your folks back home as you continue to drink from the fire hose and pass a little bit of that back to your folks who are still getting to know you as a state rep?
Well, good question. We've got many things going on. I have a Facebook, and so a lot of folks do that and follow that. That's the best way many people have to stay in touch and see what's going on. I try to report and post to that regularly, and they call on the phone. We talk. Anytime I drive to and from the district, I spend all my time on the phone talking to folks, reaching out to folks, county judges, hospital administrators, school superintendents, and that type of thing, trying to communicate with them and let them know what's going on. We're developing a newsletter, which we will hopefully go out this next week. So if anyone wants to call our office and talk or provide an email address, we certainly want to get the word out to them that way. Certainly would like to take advantage of the Republican Caucus opportunities as far as Facebook and those type of things, and so look forward to that. Just by email. I mean, I've been receiving emails, and I actually sit down and respond to emails, and it's kind of odd because some of these people thought, we're not used to getting emails back. We don't, we send them, but we don't expect you to respond and you to respond personally to the email. And it's like, well, that's what we do. I try to be accessible. I try to be responsive. That's the type of guy that I want to be, and type of representative I think the folks at House District 68 deserve to have. And whether you're in the district or not, I still want to respond, because even if you're out of the district, those same concerns may be the concerns of someone within the district. So I think it's important to understand each of the issues and potential problems with whatever bills are out there. So if we need to fix it, let's fix it on the front end rather than the back end.
Amen to that. Some forward-thinking solutions. That's what we need in this state. So I guess for you, looking down the barrel of the rest of the session, you still got budget night up ahead. Bill, the deadline to hear bills on the House floor is still several weeks away. What are you focusing on in terms of successes, and how do you describe or define success for this first session for you?
Well, it's kind of like when I talk to my staff, I said it's critical that we participate in and sign on board to each of the points that are important that I've already talked about that to the folks in my district. And so I also want to advance and defend those conservative principles, values, and beliefs of the folks of our district, and it needs to be in each one of these areas. We can't leave anything hanging. We need, whether it's the right to life, whether it's the Second Amendment rights, whether it's election integrity, whether it's rural broadband, whether it's telemedicine, telehealth, rural hospitals, rural schools, those type of issues, reducing taxes. Each and every one of those, I think, needs to be addressed, and for it to be a successful session for me, I think I need to do everything in my power and do everything on my part to make sure that happens. So that's what I'm committed to.
Well, you had to be pretty excited last week to see, for those major priorities go before committees. I guess you were probably a little grateful too. You weren't on State Affairs or Homeland Security.
Yeah, they've earned their pay this week. Last week.
For sure, there's more than enough overtime when you gavel out around 5:30 in the morning, right?
Right.
Well, I guess for the folks who want to find you, you had mentioned getting signed up for the newsletter. Where's the best place to reach you, find you on social media, all that stuff?
Facebook is just Representative David Spiller. You can contact my office. I think the number's 512-463-0526. Also email at district68.spiller@house.texas.gov. Certainly, and you can follow also if you go to the House website and click on, you can see what bills I've authored, joint authored, co-authored. Click onto that, and then the Texas Legislature online process. Anyone, if they have trouble tracking bills or getting updates on bills, they can contact my office, and they're very well trained, and they can help them in that regard. So.
Yeah, big shout out to your Chief of Staff, Susanna, who has really gone into baptism by fire with you. So your staff definitely deserves some extra commendation this time around. Also, for those watching, if you want to find all of this stuff in one place, you can head to TexasHouseCaucus.com. Right there on our members page, we've got all of Representative Spiller's contact info for his social media, district website, his district email, campaign website, all that stuff. If you want to get connected with him, that's a great starting point. So, you got a busy week ahead of you, and I'm not going to keep you too long. You've already got so much you've caught up on, but please, let's have you back again after session. We'll talk about how it went for you and what you're looking forward to working on in their interim.
Right, Jordan. I appreciate it very much. Appreciate the opportunity anytime, and it's great being here, and I've met a lot of great people.
Hey, there's plenty more to meet. This is a big state, and more people moving in here every day. So we'll keep the train rolling. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.